Yippee! Who would have thought, after closing a huge deal, my boss Liz would show up at my office totally pissed off? Not me. But that's exactly what happened. I had been working as a recruiter and just placed a killer creative officer with my client, the CEO of an online gambling startup. So I sent him an email. Yippee! Let's talk offer. 2 minutes later, Liz is at my office. Loren, we need to talk. Uh-oh. Did I screw up the contract? Did the candidate back out? We don't use words like yippee. It's not professional. Now let me be clear. This client, former porn company CEO, had been dropping F-bombs like confetti. So I said, perhaps a little too aggressively, oh, but we could say F off in our meetings. And just like that, she put me on a PIP, a performance improvement plan for insubordination. At least, that is how I remember it. But looking back, it had been building for months. When she canceled our one-on-ones 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, I never asked why. When I was redirected from the meetings I used to lead, I let it happen. And when my wins were quietly reassigned to someone else's scorecard, I kept my head down. I told myself, she's busy, don't make waves. I thought that staying quiet was the same as staying safe. So I got my severance and I got out. I'm not sure anyone even noticed. Looking back, yippee was not the problem. They had already decided I was no longer relevant, and I helped them believe it. That is the cycle of ageism. We look around the room and we notice we're the oldest person there, and we get nervous. So we start softening our opinions and polishing ourselves down, trading visibility for safety. And oh mama, ageism loves that trade. And if you're thinking, but isn't age discrimination illegal? You're right. But only a fraction of those cases ever succeed. So we stay quiet and ageism wins, because ageism loves silence. So how do we fight back? How do we fight back when the system is quietly moving on? Well, after I got fired for saying yippee, I knew I would make it my life's work to figure that out. My first order of business was to dive into the numbers. So here you go. Life expectancy in 1950 was 68. Today, it's 79. That's 11 extra years the old model never accounted for. So if you're in your 40s or 50s, you're not late career, you're mid-career to a 60-year working life. But hiring managers, they haven't figured out that math. So companies still treat 50 like it's an exit ramp. Here's what I've learned. We don't age out by living longer. We age out by living smaller. Let me show you what I mean. Ben came to me after he got laid off in his mid-50s with every evidence of hiring success. Yet, every interview ended the same. You're impressive. We'll keep you in mind. That's corporate for next. One of the first things he said to me was, seriously, Loren, who's going to hire me? I'm male, pale, and stale. Now that was an arrogance. That was shame disguised as humor. And shame makes people hide. So Ben did what he felt was responsible. He polished his resume like it was 1995 and updated his LinkedIn work experience, hoping hiring managers would find him. Nothing happened. Because here's the thing. If you keep referring to yourself as a seasoned executive with 20 years of proven experience, that's not value. That's a timestamp. And can we all please just agree to stop using the word seasoned? That is a word for meat, not people. What Ben needed wasn't a better resume. What he needed was to show he was current and meaningful now, not just experienced. So I didn't tell Ben to keep applying to those jobs. I told him to get visible with proof that he was paying attention to what was happening now. He started posting about what he was learning, what he was reading, and about the industry shifts happening in real time. He even updated his LinkedIn banner to say, last seen at Orange Theory Fitness, because who wants to hide the fact that they work out at 6 a.m.? That's discipline. That's somebody who shows up. All of a sudden, people started remembering him, commenting, connecting, not because he got any younger, not because he reinvented himself, because he'd proven what the market needs to see, that he was still growing and evolving. Relevance decays unless you actively refresh it. A few weeks later, Ben didn't apply to a job found him. As I said, relevance decays unless you actively refresh it. Ben stopped letting his decay. Ben's story is about reinvigorating what you've already got. But what if you need to show that you're still growing? That's Tess. Tess was a highly paid C-suiter in her late 40s with prestigious degrees and impeccable pedigree, completely burnt out. She resigned and waited for recruiters to find her. They didn't. So then she decided to do something completely out of character. She decided to climb Kilimanjaro. Now, Tess was not a hiker, had never been camping, but signed up anyway. And here's what changed everything. She didn't wait until she hit the summit to tell everybody about it. She shared the whole messy journey, opening up about what leaders are conditioned to hide. That vulnerability isn't a weakness, and asking for help isn't a sign of failure. Strangers started coming out of the woodworks, not to judge her, but to cheer her on, because suddenly she wasn't credentials on paper. She was a real person learning out loud. And that wasn't branding. That was grit at high altitude. When she came back, she landed a chief financial officer role. Not from an application, not from a recruiter, from the mountain. Ben's story is about currency, Tess's is about growth. But here's what they both proved. They were both evolving, connected, and fluent in what was happening today. The market doesn't reward pedigree. It rewards relevance. And staying relevant isn't applying to more jobs or updating your resume. Relevance is proof you are. 5 years ago, I walked out of that office, yippee, still echoing in my head. I could have disappeared. I could have blamed my age. I could have blamed Liz. But actually, I'd like to thank her for firing me from that job so I could stop hiding and ask, what if invisibility isn't something that happens to you? What if it's something that you sign up for? And if it is something you sign up for, well, let's stop freaking signing up for it. So I started showing up visible, opinionated, and imperfect. Those who knew me then wouldn't recognize me now. Ageism isn't a plague. It's an outdated perspective. And aging doesn't mean you have to sign up for ageism. So stop. You can either stay silent or silence the noise.